Let's learn about what exactly is the current condition of the public sector banks in India. Public sector banks in India are in crisis. Banks have given out huge loans to huge borrowers who have showed confidence that they would be able to pay back. But then obviously they are not able to pay back. As a result, these loans have now become non-performing assets. I think I've read somewhere it says, as of now the bad loans have crossed rupees 8 lakh crore. I mean, if you look at it, that's a massive amount of debt. And 90% of these non-performing assets are actually in the books of the government-owned banks. And today, 70% of the total banking industry in India are government-owned, and they are called as public sector banks. Since these are government-owned banks, so naturally the government will have to inject capital and keep them alive. Now, how does the government save these banks? It is done through bank recapitalization. Recapitalization of banks mean adding capital to the public sector banks. And obviously, as the owner of these public sector banks, the government is responsible for providing capital to them. If you look at this term recapitalization, the amazing and unique thing about this is that recapitalization means injecting money without expecting anything in return. In other words, it is different from loan because loan has to be repaid, but recapitalization money has no liability. Now, where do you think the government has the money for recapitalization? I think many of you can easily guess. It's the taxpayers' money. The taxpayers' money is being used to keep the public sector banks alive. Now, how did it all start? I mean, when did these banks started running in debt? It all started in the beginning of 2010. Since then, the bad loans have gone up. And the funny thing is that all of this was hidden through statistical jugglery. What I mean is that the banks, instead of recognizing these bad debts as non-performing assets, they simply used to put them under the category of restructured loans. For those of you who don't know what is restructured loan, you'll be amazed to know what that is. It is a loan where the borrower has the power to restructure it in such a way that the outstanding balance of an older loan will be replaced by a new loan. And the interest rate will be usually less and has to be paid over a longer period. I'll make you understand this scenario with an example. We need to take two examples, one at a smaller level and the other at a bigger level. Let's assume an individual or you borrow money from a bank to buy a car. And then after 1 year, you stop paying the EMI, the installment, the monthly installment. What do you think the bank will do? You think it will start the process to recover the money? Or will the bank negotiate with you and come to some understanding in the hope of recovering the loan? You think the bank will give you the second option? The bank will simply take away your car. Till you don't pay the entire amount of your car loan, the bank holds your car's original papers. I think you are aware of that. Now let's take the second example. Let's say a big company has taken a huge loan from a bank. And again, even that big company is not paying the EMI. Now do you think the bank will initiate the process to recover the money by selling assets of the company? It will be very difficult for a bank to do that. And for two broad reasons, the bank will not do that to a big borrower. Firstly, a big borrower has much more resources at his or her disposal to deal with the methods employed by a bank to recover debt. And secondly, it's going to be a huge loss to the bank if the big borrower doesn't pay the money, and the loss is much bigger than a car loan. Hence, the bank would be willing to negotiate by restructuring the loan. And this is exactly what the banks have been doing for a long time. Instead of recognizing their bad debts as non-performing assets, banks simply put them under the category of restructure. That's why there's a very famous saying, you have to be too big to fail. This line is actually true in explaining the bad loans of our banking system. RBI has always been a conservative central bank. So all of this mess created by the public sector banks came under the notice of Reserve Bank of India. In the late 2015, the Reserve Bank of India began a major asset quality review when it came to know that the banks were hiding their bad debts. Today, both the RBI and the government has a major headache, and they realized this problem too late. From a political point of view, both the present as well as the previous government are blaming each other. However, the present government has taken steps to address the bad loans by passing the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code in 2016. Despite having a bankruptcy law, the Government of India will still need a huge capital to save the public sector banks. Now, what do you think could be the implications of recapitalization? For a while, it may seem unfair that the government is injecting the taxpayers' money to save these public sector banks. But then if you think about it, recapitalization is anyhow a government expenditure. The primary aim of any government expenditure is to boost the economy and to do welfare. Hence, by injecting money into the public sector banks, it will increase the lending capacity of the public sector banks. In other words, banks will lend money to the private sector at low rates. After all, private sector is responsible for creating jobs, boosting the economy, etc. I mean, it is a vicious cycle. It is the private sector that creates huge debt, but then on the other hand, it is the private sector investment that boosts a nation's economy. One negative aspect of recapitalization is that it is, after all, taxpayers' money. The money doesn't come out of a thin air, nor the RBI prints money whenever they need it. So basically, recapitalization fund is taxpayers' money. That means when the government injects money to save the public sector banks, it also means the government revenue is reducing. In other words, government's total expenditure is exceeding the revenue. This will definitely impact the government's fiscal deficit. So these are some of the implications of recapitalization. Apart from bankruptcy law, the government is also moving towards the idea of consolidating the public sector banks. In other words, merging the banks to create large banks, so that if there are less number of public sector banks, it can meet the credit needs of the growing Indian economy. Today, there are a total of 21 public sector banks in India, and they together form 70% of the total banking industry in India. Since they are public sector banks, the government has to provide the capital. So naturally, if there are less public sector banks, it will help the government to deal better with their credit portfolio, stressed assets. Basically, it will prevent the spending of resources in the same area, and it will strengthen the banks to deal with shocks. So the idea of bank mergers is a good idea, but then it's not a new idea. It has been around since 1991. During the 70s and 80s, the government of India had nationalized many banks, and the idea was to simply have control over the economic development of the country. Because back then, the banks owned by private sectors were biased. They were not interested in the development of the country. They were just there to make profit. So in order to provide credit and financial assistance to economically backward communities, Government of India started nationalizing the private sector banks by holding more than 51% of the shares in the banks. In 1991, after the announcement of liberalization of the economy, it was suggested that there should be fewer but stronger public sector banks in the country. But then it took 25 years for the government and central bank to implement that plan. For the first time in 2016, 6 banks got consolidated under State Bank of India. And then in the very same year, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code was passed to deal with stressed and non-performing assets. So this is the current situation of the public sector banks in India. I hope you found this video informative. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.